I don't belong in the world. That's what it is. Something separates me from other people.
Motherfucking goddamn orange peel beef.
What's up, everybody? Welcome. It's one fucking hour time. That's right. It's the show. It's the show where we talk about one goddamn movie and we have just one fucking hour to do it. That's right. I'm Evan Husney, joined by my two people here. To my left, we got Miss Rami Bennett. Rami, welcome back to the show.
Good evening, and thank you for having me.
Oh, of course, anytime. And to the right, to my right, screen right, we got Mr. Marcus Herring. Marcus, what's going on?
What's up, you guys? Really glad to see you and excited about tonight's episode.
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
For sure. Oh, sorry, just turn my light
Whoa, that was some creepy...
Some
What the hell?
shit.
Jesus,
Yeah,
Lord Christ. Purgatory.
Open up the Jar of David already.
Yeah, seriously.
What's going on over there? All right, but you heard it. This is what we're doing tonight, of course. It is episode 162 of the show, which means, of course, we're going to be doing a movie from 1962. We're in the middle of this sort of year-long series where we're going to cover movies, one film per year per episode, the episode number corresponding, of course, with the year of release of a particular film, 1962. So you guys voted on this shit. So let's give a round of applause for that. The results are in, and the poll options. Yeah, this was interesting because I would have imagined that a Kubrick would have run away with the poll because, of course, you guys know here that
I love polls.
That's right. We love polls. But I would have thought a Kubrick film would have totally stolen the show here because, of course, Lolita was on the poll. That did not win. It seemed right out of the gate. This was sort of foretold that it was going to be Carnival of Souls is tonight. So very excited. I'm
happy that this was the choice.
Me too.
I think it makes sense.
Yeah, me too. I think it's the most. It's probably the most OFH core title of the bunch.
I think so.
And of course, we all know that tonight there's going to be a major appearance of the Jar of David as well. Of course, there has to be. Right? Where is he? Oh yeah, wait.
Total fucking bullshit.
That's right. So the Jar of David, whoa, did I just, okay, there we go. The Jar of David is in effect, of course, all year long. And just a little recap on the Jar of David. Anytime one of us makes a reference to this man, you have to put a coin in the jar, of course, right? It's a somewhat of a penalty play because he's very over-discussed on this channel. So every time that happens tonight, we're going to put a coin in the jar. At the end of the year, the fiscal year here, we're going to tally it up. You guys have to guess how much change is in the Jar of David, and whoever gets Price is Right rules closest to guessing that is going to get to pick what movie we're going to cover for the next episode. Holy shit.
Nice.
Too much power of God is in your hand on that one. So that's going to be crazy. But I'm excited for this. Carnival of Souls, a lot to talk to, a lot to talk about, to get into, and to do that and so on and so forth. But let's give, of course, a quick little, just so we can get to the main event, where the hell is it? Okay, wait. No. Sometimes I loot. There we go. Okay, we're going to give a quick shout out to the one fucking hour Patreon. Of course, patreon.com/one fucking hour is where you can sign up for just $5 a month, and it gives you instant access to all of our bonus episodes, audio commentary tracks. I think there's over 40 of those episodes up there right now that's the only place you can watch them. It also gives you 24 to 48 hour early access to every single episode, so you get to watch it before everybody else does, for every episode that we do, including this one. So if you want all your content there, or if you want it on YouTube, you can scroll underneath this video, find the join button, and become a Momen of the YouTube channel. Same price, same perks, same benefits, and we appreciate it so much. And of course, all the funds, 100% of the funds coming in from the Patreon stream and the YouTube stream, all go in support of our one fucking hour brother, Tom Fitzgerald, of course, who is on medical leave from the show. As we mentioned, it's a pretty extensive recovery process. He ain't coming back anytime soon. This is a long road ahead for him, but every dollar counts. As you can imagine, that'll be a pretty pricey in terms of his rehabilitation. So we appreciate everybody that has contributed thus far because it goes directly to him, and we appreciate that a lot. And speaking of Tom, we did last week give a little update ski on that, talking about how we've been starting to receive some fan mail, which is very awesome. Of course, shout out to Liz, of course, who sent a beautiful get well card. And
This is OG, right?
OG.
She's been around for a long time.
I think Liz has been since the first few months of the show. I would imagine.
Day one.
Yeah. So
Thank you, Liz.
yes, thank you so much. But we did put out a little call to action, call to arms for the OFH community, because the letters are rolling in. We got some more coming in for Tom, some get well cards. Very excited about that. So if you'd like to send a get well message, a card, or just anything, a doodle, some words of encouragement, that would be fantastic, because we're going to sort of gather up all of those, and we're going to send them next time we visit Tom. And he really loved the hell out of opening that that card that Liz had hand drawn and written to him. So if you'd like to send something to Tom, get your screenshot command ready, because here you go. If you want to send a get well mail to Tom, send it to the address on your screen. You can send it to me at Evan Husney, 697 Grand Street, Box 166, Brooklyn, New York, 11211. 697 Grand Street, Box 166, Brooklyn, New York, 11211. And don't worry,
I love
guys.
your handwriting there.
Thank you very
beautiful.
much. Yes. And of course, it is not my home address. So you're not showing up and going to be partying with us or anything. But that is our mail service. So if you'd like to send anything to us or to Tom, that's the way to do it. Oh, and speaking of the Patreon, I forgot to mention finally, the new bonus episode, the new Patreon exclusive ep is up right now on the Patreon, or of course, if you're a member of the YouTube channel. And what is it? Well, we kind of forego the 50s roundup. We were going to do that, but I think that ship sailed. And one of our listeners actually came up with this idea, and I think this is a great idea. So we decided to just say, fuck it, and we audibled into this. If you want to know, or have ever been curious, or wanted to know what the fuck the one fucking hour origin story is, who are we in the first place? How do we know each other? What's the story of this? How did this whole podcast happen? What the fuck's going on? Well, you're in luck, because our new bonus episode is the one fucking hour origin story. And the only way to watch that or listen to it, of course, is up on the Patreon, or if you're a member of the YouTube channel. So that is out now. So sign up if you want to check it out. All right, right?
Oh, yeah.
All right, y'all. You ready? Should we do it? I'm ready.
I think so. Yeah.
I think I'm loaded for bear. And then, of course, last but not least, stay tuned to the end of the episode. After this hour is over, we'll, of course, reveal to you all what the poll options are for 1963, because...
I love Poles.
Okay. Classic. All right. Let's get the clock going here. Here we go. Locked and loaded. One fucking hour, guys, on Carnival of Souls. I'm excited for this. Let's get locked and loaded. Here we go. Boom. All right. All right. So where am I here? Okay. Let's read a synopsis here for the flick. First, another Criterion film here. Kind of gets a little Criterion synopsis as well, but we're going to cover a lot of the stuff that's covered here. So here you go. Carnival of Souls. A young woman, played by Candice Hilligoss, in a small Kansas town survives a drag race accident. Okay, that's a weird plot moment, then agrees to take a job as a church organist in Salt Lake City. En route, she is haunted by a bizarre apparition that compels her toward an abandoned lakeside pavilion. Made by industrial filmmakers on a small budget, the eerily effective B-movie classic Carnival of Souls was intended to have, quote, the look of a Bergman and the feel of a Cocteau, which we're going to get into that. It's pretty amazing. And with its strikingly used locations and spooky organ score, it succeeds. Herc Harvey's, great name, Herc Harvey's macabre masterpiece gained a cult following on late night television and continues to inspire filmmakers today. So there you have it. One of my other favorite descriptors that I read just in the process of doing doing some research was someone comparing it to, it's like a Twilight Zone episode directed by Antonioni, which I think is
Right.
How cool does that sound, guys?
Yeah, that's awesome. Very much so.
I was pulling for the Joe Bob Briggs synopsis.
I know, I saw that.
But only purely because it's got that connection to sort of the drive-in theater
Yes.
and just like the lower art form.
Yes.
And,
Yeah, you're not going to get
he-
Cocteau in his description.
right.
Yeah.
He was like really sort of annoyed with this film getting like pulled
Really?
up into like the New York Times.
Wow.
zone.
Really?
I think he
Wow.
felt like some ownership over
I see.
that's
this realm,
interesting.
I
so,
see. Interesting.
First, they did it to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, then they did it to Blood Feast, and now the latest victim of an attack by zombie college professors is this movie Carnival of Souls.
The drive-in double feature.
Which I kind of see where he's coming from, but
I see it. But what's interesting just about this film, and we're going to get into a lot of this tonight, is just kind of like I think one thing for me that was pretty amazing on the rewatch and the research was that this is 1962, okay?
Yeah.
And this movie single-handedly, I think you can make an argument, forecasted so much of what would be happening the rest of this decade and beyond.
I was thinking the same thing.
I mean,
Fucking crazy.
Like sort of like the birth of new Hollywood in a way,
Well,
right? I mean, like some of the components are there.
That
you
you
know.
could say, sure. I was even specifically talking about like it's Twilight Zone before Twilight Zone, first and foremost. Before Night of the Living Dead, of course, which would be the big,
I mean, wow.
huge. I mean, Night of the Living Dead owes so much to this film.
Yeah, it's incredible.
But what other films come to mind? Another.
The Haunting, I mean, I'll talk about that a bit later, but it really,
Sure.
the energy, the mood, the character,
The Trapped.
I love
Yeah.
The Haunting too.
But also another one fucking hour classic, Messiah of Evil. We probably,
Right.
I think was massively influenced by this. But you could
The
make
Shining,
sure,
I mean,
Yeah.
There's Shining.
the ballroom and the ghouls dancing.
Sure. You could say
Beetlejuice, I mean,
Sure.
the car going off the bridge, that's the literal shot
That's
from
true.
Beetlejuice. And then they're in purgatory, they're like in the liminal
That's
ghost
true.
space.
Right.
Yeah.
You could
that
say-
He's
struck me
totally
more.
the type of guy who would be like
Tim
watching
Burton would be
this.
all over this.
Totally,
of course.
totally,
yeah.
totally.
Late night TV as like teenager. Or
Like
whatever.
him and David Lynch are the same, the age of the guys who watched Carnival of Souls. right?
Yes. And that's something we were like talking about. Okay, Evan.
I was just
Like
going to say.
Romero watched it, but like it's not like it was available for other people.
No, we're
right?
going to get into that. But let me finish the list.
Okay, you finish it. Go for it.
You could make an argument. Polanski's Repulsion. You could draw a line back to this. Even a little deeper cut here, but I think it owes a lot to this movie. I think it's almost kind of a direct ripoff of this movie. Mario Bava's Lisa and the Devil, I think, owes a lot to this. But also, gotta shout him out. Come on, Eraserhead. Anybody?
Yeah.
Come on.
Fire Walk with Me.
Right.
Fire Walk with Me. Yeah,
Ronette
Mulholland
Polanski.
Drive.
we're gonna get to that. So
Well, let me just clarify what I was saying about just New Hollywood too, real quick. Just because
Yeah.
it's like the components are like, to me, it's like sort of skilled, low budget American
Yes.
filmmakers who are
Independent film,
inspired by European art.
European.
house.
Totally.
Exactly.
Totally.
Like real independent filmmaking.
totally.
This is a very early example.
I know.
Of that.
Yeah. And I love the way they talk about it too as independent filmmaking. Like they're not low budget.
No,
B-horror
this is
movie.
it.
Like this is independent film.
This is it.
Like you said,
skilled,
inspired.
and skilled filmmakers. Too,
Yes.
Totally.
Not just
Not hacks.
schlocky,
Very
but,
much so.
Not hacks. Not
And
hacks.
this is why that stands out too, because every technician is, like you said, very skilled. The actors are actually very skilled actors. So it's like, it holds up in that way where you're not laughing at this movie.
No.
It doesn't have that Ed Wood thing about it at all. This is like each person is, oh wow, there's like some real artistry.
Sometimes you can see, there's some ADR maybe here and there and some things, but for the most part, this is a very sharply made film and shows off a lot of technique.
That's all Italian cinema is like ADR, right? Everything's
right.
So.
But it shows off a lot of amazing technique. It shows a vision and again, thematically influenced so much. It's really hard to separate.
And the mood and the idea of like a dream state horror film. Obviously.
Amazing. Yeah, amazing. So we're going to get into a bunch of that other stuff, but just before we get into the backstory, which I do want to talk about because the filmmakers are fascinating. Rami, you mentioned before we started recording that this was a film that got regular play in the Bennett household, right?
Yes, I have to say, because this one is like very, very near and dear to my heart. This was a movie that like both my mom and dad showed me constantly growing up. I know I say this a lot on the channel, but like it's like and I was trying to get to the bottom of it with my parents. I was asking my mom yesterday, my dad called me tonight. I was like, so what is the deal like with these movies that were on rotation for us? Like, now people are showing their kids like Pixar movies or whatever, but like I grew up in the way, like Marcus, you were saying, like I grew up in the same way like kids in the 60s might have grown up, where like they were watching the $1 Million Movie, Chiller Theater.
Well, that's unique to your area though. That's
right. In New York and New Jersey, they were playing these movies constantly on repeat. So like my parents grew up on all the B horror movies and then Carnival of Souls, The Bad Seed, the Betty Davis movies. And so those are the movies that then my parents showed us as little kids.
Yeah.
So it's like they almost kind of repeated their experience as children. So we were like I was a monster kid.
Monster kids.
As that guy in the commentary.
Yeah. And it's like, kid. The New York and New Jersey area, you said you had Chiller Theater, you had $1 Million Movie, these late night, where you'd watch a movie, some weird schlock B movie would come on at, 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning. And that's how a lot of these movies got seen, especially this one, because it didn't have the theatrical life that A Night of the Living Dead had, or, some of these other films that would come later. It was kind of dumped into the, drive-ins in the South and kind of forgotten about. And then it wasn't because, which we'll get to, it was public domain. And of course, people probably ran the shit out of it on TV.
Right.
And so a lot of people got exposed to it.
And this left a real mark. Like my dad was saying that he was terrified of this when he saw it when he was a little kid, and he was like 13 and 14. And that because of just like the genuine eeriness of this movie, like it left such a lasting imprint that it was like they carried this down through generations to show, their kids. And anyway, like watching it now too, you're like that genuine sense of eeriness and mood is still like so palpable.
And like legit jump scares too, like serious, that like hold up, for sure. So anyway, let's talk a little bit about the filmmakers, because they are interesting. Of course, you got Herc Harvey and the writer of the film, John Clifford. Now, these guys, they're making this film straight out of Kansas, y'all. Lawrence, Kansas, okay? Where they worked for a company named Centron that produced hundreds and hundreds of these sort of educational films for the classroom, all these corporate industrial films. And they had this
industrial musicals even.
That's right. That's what they mentioned. Right. And these guys were really one of the most like prolific and I guess respected makers of these academic and industrial training films too.
There was a big boom of these movies too, like in atomic age America. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like he made like over 400 films personally.
Incredible.
Not only the sort of educational films you'd see in school, but they also had like military contracts and stuff. So they were making all these films we haven't seen that were like secret military,
Wow, that's so cool. But so like these guys, just like in terms of getting that much practice at, setting up a camera, making a shot, sort of writing a story. You got to write stories for these too, and just cranking things out. It's like it does sharpen
the practice,
your
that like skill. Yeah, exactly.
Totally. And from what was said on the Criterion disc about it, that they were very sophisticated in terms of not like these particular types of like industrial films. So, for example, if there was like a film to be shown in a school about like why you shouldn't grow up to be a bully, they wouldn't just make some sort of schlocky version of that might be mocked on, you know, Mystery Science Theater or Pee-wee Playhouse or something like that. Instead, they would, or Mr. Bungle, of course, right? Of course, Mr. Bungle. But they'd go the extra mile and they would write like a very sophisticated backstory for the bully. Why did the bully, you know, grow up to be this way? What shaped him? What forces, external forces, you know? So they really were making like, again, they cared and they put a lot of effort into even these types of, you know, films that they were making. And that of course will translate, you know, tenfold when it gets to this film. But anyway, so that's really cool that they made all these very, you know, sophisticated films. Then Herc Harvey is driving cross country one day, and he's driving from, I think, California back to Kansas. And he's driving through Salt Lake City, and he sees out his car window, he sees, you know, exactly what you see in the movie. This very, large, abandoned, Moorish, kind of Russian-looking abandoned carnival pavilion that's right off of the lake there, Salt Lake. And he just, you know, had to stop and take a look at it because it looked abandoned. And he walked there, and he described that it was eerie, it was otherworldly, it felt like stepping into another dimension. And then immediately he sort of thought to himself, like, holy shit, this thing is just sitting here. This would be a great place to shoot a movie of some kind. And so that was the spark, of course. And so he drives back to Kansas and links up with John Clifford, who's the screenwriter, and he's like, we got to write a movie for this location, which I think is a great practical way.
Yeah, and a very independent film-minded approach.
I love that. And all he basically told him was, John had said that Herc came to him and he said he'd like to make a film about creatures rising from the lake and doing a dance of death in the pavilion. And then as they're workshopping it, he basically went, I think, for like a month and like wrote the script. And they both decided that it would feature someone being chased and that it would feature this like heroine character. And, and he also kind of included later on when somebody interviewed John about it, he said, quote, I decided early on to give the heroine no real sympathy or understanding from any other character. For the viewer, there is no relief from her dilemma, no catharsis, except what viewers create for themselves. I believe that this is one reason the film tends to linger in the mind. Which is pretty cool. And then, of course, this is the crazy part, is they were not, now this is something that I think is underappreciated about this movie, as evidenced in the synopsis I read. These guys were not like, yeah, let's, like most independent horror filmmakers at the time, let's make a cheapo film to throw in the drive-ins and make a buck. There's nothing cynical about this whatsoever. These guys were setting out specifically to make a film that felt like Bergman meets Cocteau.
Yeah, that's what he said multiple times.
Yeah, that's very consistent.
The look of Bergman and the feel of Cocteau.
Incredible. So it's
crazy how much it feels like last year at Marienbad too. You know, like just like the connections there with this big grand location.
True.
And the sort of like, is it a ghost story? You know. Yep. The organ music. There's in last year. I don't think he saw it, but it's just sort of interesting that they achieved the same sort of like, as I don't know, aesthetic, but same sort of like feeling as that.
Yeah.
Film.
Yeah. And you had said Antonioni too, and it's like L'Eclisse, Monica Vitti and L'Eclisse in those movies of sort of that like isolation and blonde woman in an alienated environment.
Right. Well, she looks so French, like, she looks like Catherine Deneuve or like, it doesn't look like an American beauty. It looks like a European style.
Yeah. And it has that, which would become so much of a pervasive trope in these art house films in the years to come, is this female protagonist drifting through this uncanny world. Yeah. This disorientation, this sort of detachment.
Feeling disconnected and detached.
From reality, the sort of like repetition, the doubles, the surreal encounters.
Right.
And this kind of concept of like, is the character already dead or are they spiritually trapped, in this sort of purgatory, which, of course, is what I think the movie is supposed to be.
Right.
But
it's so interesting too, because the idea that this kind of like juxtaposition between that like very European art house sensibility, but then this incredible like Americana feel.
Yeah.
I love that this is like a Kansas
Yes.
American movie, because there was one of the articles I was reading, one of the essays said like maybe this is the first real American horror movie in a sense, like where it's outside of like the Gothic European or the Vincent Price tradition.
Yes.
And it's in this American dusty road, broken down amusement park, gas station, boarding house, sort of like the isolation and desolation of America at that time.
Right. Instead of taking place in a castle or something, it's like
Yeah.
it's in this sort of decaying like amusement park, which is like a place of like pleasure.
Right.
Like pleasure seeking Americans, you know, it's sort of like this ruin. It's like the ruins of America, the ruins of the American dream.
And on the road, like when you have that sort of like the desolate space of being on the road, how like highways in that time period too.
Roadside
like,
attraction.
In the late 50s and 60s, the highways started. People talked about that sense of like isolation and loneliness that kind of created in America. And so there is that like malaise and sort of like disassociation of the environment.
Well, that's sort of the zombie type people who inhabit that world, you know, and they
Of the
have like sort of
past.
they have sort of a sadness to them, you know, and like and the hotel is like a relic of this grand past that we didn't get to experience ever, you know, and they're sort of trapped in their in that memory of it. And something about it does feel like I don't know if it's like, it's not overtly like a critique of like the American dream, but I feel like all of those elements are like just
present.
us being, they're just present in us as Americans. So it's just coming out in there.
Totally.
Like in the writing of the film.
Because like the history of that building is it was sort of this idea for people to be like, hey, you know, us and people in Utah, like we know how to party and have a good time too.
Right.
And this decadent pavilion that's sort of like mimicking this
and
European.
let's make the biggest dance hall in America and like go big. But then the place like burned down like a half a dozen times, and then it just became this thing where they couldn't keep it up, so it just sat, you know.
And I was also thinking like this idea of, we've talked about this before in the show with like In Cold Blood, but like On the Road, like the 1950s sort of Jack Kerouac dream of on the road, like the dark side of the road, like the hitchhiker, like the kind of murder kind of shit that was going on, like on those desolate stretches that like people went out there to find themselves, and ultimately a lot of times they found just like a lot of loneliness and sort of like being adrift in this open landscape.
Well, America has that open landscape and this highway system where you can explore that, and like Europe is like, you know, you drive an hour and you're in another country.
True.
You know,
So just a couple of more direct lines to these sort of films than TV shows that were influenced by this, just real quick, but before we get into the actual movie itself. You know, Twilight Zone is hard to not think about when you think about this movie, just because of course it sort of has that twist shock ending, but also there's been a lot of people who've talked about a short story from 1890 called "An Occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge," which was about. Set during the American Civil War. It explores, this idea of illusion, consciousness, the psychological boundaries between life and death, and the story was widely studied for its innovative structure and vivid realism, like influencing literature and film and all this type of thing. And so, people had theorized that this must have been sort of, that they were influenced by this short story. Now, Twilight Zone would also go on to adapt the same story and make, their own, their own adaptation of that actual story, which is sort of this kind of purgatory-esque, dreamscape. What
happens the few seconds before you die in your consciousness? What's happening?
Right, exactly.
Right. And wasn't there the Academy Award for like short film of the year went to An Occurrence at Owl Street?
I think that's
Bridge, like the year before.
Right. I think that's right. Yeah. So, so you have that, and then
and it's the most incredible conceit. I mean, that idea is so beautiful that like it's not it's all a dream. It's not like reductive in that way. It's what happens to like when your consciousness collapses in on itself.
Joe Bob was sort of picking it apart a little bit, saying that he thought too much was made of the connection between the hitchhiker. He's like, I don't think.
That's different. The hitchhiker.
He was saying he was kind of eschewing both of them, saying like, I think too much is made of the Twilight Zone,
Comparisons.
influence. And then pointing out that an occurrence at Owl Street Bridge is like the moment that happens right before you die.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what that story is about.
But
And this is about being trapped in purgatory.
Sure.
But I don't know. See, I have an argument about this, or I have a theory about this.
Okay.
Take it up with Joe Bob.
But that's what's so cool about this movie, because actually I used to think it was more the purgatory state, like after you die and you're in that liminal space.
Right.
And now I'm thinking more that it is about the moment when and actually my dad was talking about this to me tonight, when like you are in the car accident and you are about to die and you're conscious of that. And it's what happens in those split moments before you actually descend into death. Like it's almost like when you're passing out of your consciousness, it's like this hypnagogic hallucinatory state where Richard Brody also said in the New Yorker, like it's the metaphysical shock of realizing you're about to die. And then it's almost this dream fugue state her brain is going into of like the story, Gary Mulholland Drive, Lost Highway. Like she's going to the story. Like the story is that she escapes the car crash. She goes off to have this whole life, but then she's in this weird space and the death keeps on bringing her back. So it's like, it is almost all of that stuff happening in that moment. That's one.
That's interesting.
And it can be both, it can be all of those things.
Let's get into the movie, because there's a lot of that we can talk about in the very beginning of the film. But just really quick, for anyone wondering, is there a tangible connection to David Lynch? And of course there is. This is a little factoid core, but Angelo Badalamenti, okay, the guy famous for, writing the score to all of, David Lynch's films. He was John Clifford, the writer of Carnival of Souls, songwriting partner in the late 60s.
That's so interesting.
Yes. Clifford was also a multidisciplinary writer. He'd do also songwriting in his spare times. And he and Badalamenti penned songs for the likes of Nina Simone and Della Reese together. So insane that there's that,
there's actually
2 degrees of separation.
Like a literal connection.
That is nuts.
Yeah.
A quick John Clifford thing, just I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but he was like I guess like a medic in World War II,
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah,
And
I
he
read
came
about
back
that.
with like PTSD.
There you go.
But it was sort of like misdiagnosed by a psychiatrist at the time because they thought like, well, you weren't a soldier, you're like a medic.
Yeah.
And so,
be worse.
But that is sort of like, I mean, the idea was that inspired this film somewhat because you're sort of the being sort of dissociated from reality.
There you go.
Yeah,
I could see that.
And experiencing dissociation as like a symptom of PTSD.
Sure.
Which is like one of the most common symptoms.
Sure,
And
sure.
I love that reading of it too.
Totally. So other real quick thing, this is I've read 2 figures, either $13,000 budget or $30,000 budget.
Or 16,000. I've seen
no matter
different.
how you slice it, that's crazy.
That was the original cost to start the film, I think. And by the end, they had gotten 33,000. Yeah.
It's crazy. No matter how you slice it, that's nuts.
Incredible.
And these guys were swinging for the fences, man. They envisioned art houses for this film. So let's get into it.
A lot of deferred payments, I think. You know what I mean?
Perhaps
they, were
they
like,
could
we'll pay
share
you
some
after we're done.
Yes.
Well, they have a production company too. There's probably some savings there. So, okay. This movie opens like it could be one of those kind of teen scare films, one of those kind of industrial warning films, like a highway safety film, because it opens exactly with this drag race, which is kind of a WTF way to start the movie.
Very strange.
Yeah.
And as a kid, I never really, because I didn't really understand like what a drag race was. So I never really like thought about it. But now watching it, I'm like, it's so strange that a bunch of guys in a car are like approaching these women, these young women in a car and like challenging them and then like running them off the fucking bridge. Like, that's very strange.
It is weird.
But I think like maybe not coincidence. I guess there's a lot of instances where men are kind of.
Yeah.
After this woman, what's that word? Like just on, like I don't know, like chasing, just like it's like she can't get rid of them.
Yeah,
you know, it's like whether it's the lecherous man across the street or the haunted man or these guys on the on the bridge coming after her. So
the
anyway,
psychiatrist, the priest,
the guy that's
life,
that are kind of. It's almost like it feels like they're always literally. Haunting her, but anyway,
creeping.
Sorry, creeping on her.
So we see that the car crashes into it crashes into this body of water, crashing, of course, over the bridge. Great little effect there. Right, but great effect there for the budget and what they were trying to do. Totally works. Then you got this great opening credit sequence too, which I got to shout out because this is when you first get that hit of the amazing organ score that's present throughout pretty much the whole film. Shout out Marcus, some great typography,
really wild titles, and usually the film doesn't go that nuts with on the print. Usually the poster will have a really wild lettering like that, but then the movie will have very stark
yes, but this is jagged. It's all kind of like just interesting compositions using the typography, which I think is just that. I've always said, you can tell a lot in terms of what hands you're in as a filmmaker, like what filmmakers' hands you're in, like the caliber of filmmaker based upon what they do with the titles. If it's default kerning, right, or whatever, you're no one. They don't care as much, right? And when you see like a title sequence like this, you can tell, oh shit, like these people really have a vision from every frame.
Yeah,
of
like they're like along angles, like following the branch. I love it. Trees, angles, and stuff.
Super cool. Yeah. So then the film begins. We have the authorities who are there sort of at the crash site. Lots of that ADR action happening there, of course, which just gives it this kind of unintentionally bizarre, dreamlike reality as the opening kind of tone.
Now, and with all the mud and sand it's carrying, they may never find that car.
But you're getting hints of like the kind of doc-style shooting, just like looking at the onlookers. It just feels like an indie film right there, which I just love. And yeah, we're kind of here. We're looking out at the water. We're surveying it. There's people out in boats trying to dig this, try to attach the, whatever the wire to the car, all that stuff. And there's like a couple beats that are just there, right? Of like, what's going to happen. And then we see Mary Henry, of course, the main character of the film. She's emerging from the water. And it's kind of like, she didn't wash upstream, whatever. Yeah. She's coming out right of the crash site, like a beat or two later.
And the image of her just like matted in that mud is so cool. Yeah, in the dress just like soaking wet.
Yeah, what an arresting image of her coming out of that. And so everyone kind of, like approaches her. Then it cuts to her walking down the bridge. This is one of the weirdest little subtle moments of the film where we see her she's dressed up now. She's like, she's looking, normal. And she's walking across this bridge, looking out at the canoe boat, which is still trying to attach whatever thing to get the car out of the water. And then she's looking at that down there. And it's such a weird, non-literal, dream logic type of move, because to me, that almost is feeling like it's signaling the beginning of this whatever fugue state, purgatory, reality, whatever. That's actually kind of like the illusion, almost is beginning there, Does that make sense? I mean,
yeah, because she's clean. She's not dirty.
She's clean.
She's back at the site.
She's out of body. She's looking down.
It is out of body, yeah.
And she's looking down at where the car was.
And the girl on the bridge moment is very Twin Peaks, Fire Walk with Me too, right?
Ronette Polanski. Well, yeah. And then
was it Teresa Banks or
Ronette with the long dark hair when she's escaping.
That's in the show, isn't it? In the TV show.
And she's walking across the bridge.
Yeah. Pilot, right.
Yeah.
And
it's almost the exact same shot.
Yeah. No, it is. Yeah. It is. And like, but this idea of
Teresa Banks is like an actress, right?
Teresa Banks is the other woman that Leland was sleeping with, and Leland, Ronette Polanski, and Laura were like in a little threesome.
Oh, okay, gotcha. For a second, I was panicking that I said like Tyra Banks or something.
Not Tyra Banks.
But yeah, it is really the same shot. And then I was gonna say too, Rita in Mulholland Drive when she gets into the car accident. And then I'm sorry, but then because she's in that state of shock, and like when Mary first comes out of the water, she has that amazing look, right, of total shock, doesn't know what happens, disassociation, and then like you said, then it cuts to her clean, with like the hair, all done up, and so it's very surreal from that moment.
We always signal these kind of subconscious Lynch influences, because they again, he's cagey about all of it, but it's like this definitely seeped into his mind. He probably saw it on late night
when
TV.
you guys were saying she's looking out at the water, there's something about that flicker of recognition.
That's what I'm saying.
So like she doesn't remember the crash. She's in shock, and then she looks into the water, and the water is almost beckoning her in that very like Greek,
Yeah, but it's like this weird dream logic of like, oh yeah, how are my friends down there? Are they okay?
And the water is beckoning her in the same way like the dance macabre is going to beckon her back into the underworld sort of thing.
So, okay, then let's get to this next part here. Okay, so it's amazing, great opening, incredible. And then it gets to her just playing on this massive organ.
Well, there's that awesome match cut to get here where she starts her car.
Yes.
And the edit, because there's some cool edit tricks.
She
turns the key of her car and it match cuts to her pushing in
on the
knob
pedal.
on
the knob or something
That's
like
cool.
that. Yeah,
That is very cool.
There's a lot of those little tricks throughout this film. So, but we see her playing this epic organ, huge, and it's kind of breathtaking actually, just the size, the scope, the sound of it. And like, of course, it's kind of very like, there's great towny casting of like some Vernon, Florida looking, old fogies there. It's amazing. Great, like, industrial exploitation happening in this scene. And it's amazing. And of course, again, this is such a great, indie film origin story because it's the idea of like where you think of what you have access to, and of course they had access to this, like, I guess, organ company that like, kind of has like an organ testing room where they display these kind of crazy things. And they had access to that.
So perfect.
So let's weave it into the script because we can shoot it there. Oh, and then she's going to be an organ player. And that's how we create the character just practically based on what's available to us.
And establish the soundtrack for the movie.
Boom.
Yeah, there you go.
Awesome.
And then it brings in the Gothic element to it, the idea of religion and all of those undertones. So it's like amazing thematically.
So good.
It's rich. It's a rich.
Fits
rich, even though it was a practical idea.
Right. I love that.
It's so
that's
cool.
like when these magical lightning in a bottle type films where like
it's all comes together.
It's supposed to click in all this way. It's like fate. So we learn she's getting sent to Utah to be an organist at a church. That's where she's going. I guess that's where she's going to be going. And of course, driving out to Utah, this is where, she's got to drive over the bridge again, which is something that, you'd imagine if she actually survived this crash, that like, would she actually do that?
But there is something also symbolic about that crossing.
Sure.
Of the bridge, right? Like in like the sort of mythical sense of like the bridge to the other universe or parallel dimension or underworld or whatever that is. Yeah,
totally.
And she's running from that trauma too. She's like trying to escape the trauma.
She wants to restart her life and do something different. Yeah.
Aren't there lots of like little like lines in this section too, where they're like, you need to put your soul into your job, or like, are you gonna say bye to your parents?
Yes.
Yes.
And it is so strange too, the idea of this like young woman in 1962 on her own in a car. I mean, like these things we take for granted now, but like that was sort of strange. Like, and for her to go off and have this independent life and
journey.
Well, it's strange at any time. I think just her relationship to the world, because she doesn't need family. She doesn't need. All of a sudden she doesn't need anything.
Yes.
It's a little suspicious, right?
Totally,
and totally detached from like earthly things. Like,
right.
So this is of course where we're seeing all these beautiful driving shots. Salt Lake City. She of course notices that Saltaire is what it's called. That whole the whole crazy pavilion. She notices that she's driving again, a trope that would be reused in Twilight Zone and Nightmare at 20,000 Feet. Of course, she's driving the birds. Yeah, she's driving in the car.
Psycho. Did you say Psycho?
And well, not only just the driving the car, but for Psycho, but the idea of seeing that creepy face jump scare. Of where you're actually seeing, the man, as he's referred to, looking in the window. I mean, that's literally
terrifying.
Yeah. Is that like the OG jump scare?
The first jump scare.
I mean, it could be
one of them.
It's amazing. It's so good.
So good. To think about that, just that trope of someone looking in your window.
Yeah,
it's like Wuthering Heights.
Yeah, like, and it is like the original ghost story. Like that, like those Gothic, like Bronte stories of like the person coming up to the window pane. And I was thinking like, even Stephen King with Salem's Lot, like that idea of like that someone pressing again. It's just
it's so creepy. It's it works every time, but it's really effective still so many years later. And then of course you see the man standing in the middle of the road again, and it's very effective. And of course, we got to shout out Herc Harvey, the director, is playing the man, which of course is amazing. Okay, so then after that moment, she gets to this gas station. And this is where we get the backstory where, she asks the gas station attendant, like, what is that structure off the side of the road? And he explains to what it is. And this is amazing. Again, great technique here. She goes, I have this address to this house that I'm going to be staying at. Do you know where it is? And then and it's a great shot. He literally goes, oh yeah, it's like over here. Yeah. And then the camera pans to darkness.
So cool.
Which is like, wow.
Yeah.
Pans to darkness, and then of course works as a perfect transition for the sort of rooming house lady and of course Mary opening the door to her room, and it's really amazing. Yeah. And that of course is great edit, signaling like, okay, you're heading off into the darkness, of course, is what that's evoking, metaphorically, and so on and so forth. And she gets there. And she's in the rooming house, and again, it's like, or like Suspiria is another kind of thing where this, trope, where she gets there, and of course she unpacks her luggage, and she sees the man outside the window again, and it's like another crazy, amazing, eerie scare.
And is that the moment too when it's like the reflection of her face too is like almost refracted, because there's like an amazing moment like that where it's like her, it's and that kind of is a little bit like the Polanski thing too, of like the fractured identity, and she's looking at herself, but then sees his face coming out.
Yeah, and so then from there, she tests the new organ at the church, which is going to be her job, and of course, again, more real authenticity to the church people that are cast here, the minister and the church lady. And this is what you were saying, Marcus. I think one of the lines of dialogue here is like the church guy is like, urges her to put her soul into her music, and stuff. Which is, of course, I think, one of the many like references to this idea of, just being, we were talking about like this being, her being trapped in a purgatory, and this idea of like, she makes many references later on in this film about how she doesn't play organ at these churches for any sort of religious component. She's doing it as it's a gig.
Well, Mary, you'll make a fine organist for that church.
It's just a job to me. I'm not taking the vows. I'm only going to play the organ.
It's a business. It's like any other business, she says. Yeah.
She doesn't believe in anything necessarily. And that kind of, I guess, in the sort of traditional sense of purgatory, whether it's Catholicism or whatever the hell it is, I don't know what it is. But it's this idea of if you don't believe in anything, then you're going to be stuck.
I'd also have to say, like, this just reminds me of the God is dead thing. Again, I feel like we often talk about like the Nietzschean existential dread of like that the movie is basically, her character is basically saying like, I don't believe in anything.
Right.
Like we're just sort of here, wandering aimlessly. And then the lecherous guy has that line where he's like, don't you get nightmares thinking like that? Because it's like she doesn't have anything to comfort herself with. It's like the existential nightmare is the only thing.
Is that why she's in purgatory?
That's a reading.
Or purgatory is like that. We are all in purgatory. Like the existential, like I guess my dad was saying this too. He was like, it's like those lessons when you're a kid, instead of like the Grimm's fairy tale, like growing up on movies like Carnival of Souls, like they're really just kind of telling you that like life really is just existential dread. Yeah. And we're all in our own consciousness. Like,
there's a lot of like really little clever lines. And this movie doesn't have that much dialogue, right? It's pretty sparse dialogue wise, but like half the lines that are delivered are some sort of clever kind of dual meaning lines.
Yeah.
Like, good luck, Mary. Stop by and see us the next time you're in.
Thank you, but I'm never coming back.
I don't belong in this world. And like someone else says to her, like, you shouldn't isolate yourself from the world.
My dear, you cannot live in isolation from the human race,
So everything has some sort of meaning.
True.
A double meaning.
And the dark fantasy she talks about where she's like at night, the dark fantasies run wild. But like in the daytime, everything's okay. And it's like, it's sort of hinting too, is this a part of her like derangement, mental derangement and trauma? And that she's like, her fantasies are taking the better of her? Or is this literally like a story of, the supernatural stuff?
Yeah.
Right.
So this is then where, of course, you have another great creepy moment with the man walking into the church, and he walks in again, very mystery man in Lost Highway too. Sorry.
Phantasm as well.
Oh,
The tall man.
I mean, the guy in,
Yes.
in Lost Highway,
Yeah.
like sort of
The
white
mystery
face
man.
paint.
The
Too.
mystery man. Yeah. Phantasm. Oh my God. Shout out to another OFH classic. So then we cut to her riding out to the abandoned Carnival Boardwalk thing for the first time, the pavilion. She goes out there, and this is great. She's kind of checking it out, looking through the fence. And it's, again, just such a good, man, it feels so ahead of its time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where you're
with the priest, right? She's with the priest.
Yeah, and you're seeing the shots of the pavilion, and then like it cuts to a shot inside like some, I don't know, catwalk or some little area inside of there, and you just see the man like sitting there kind of looking like out
I
the
love
window
that.
or something. Great. And there's just so many good
That's amazing.
POV switches that are happening.
The
kind
perspective keeps on
Yeah.
switching. It's so, and it is like also Hill House and The Haunting, where
Totally.
Shirley Jackson is kind of, this ominous sort of place is beckoning her, and, and the house itself has a sentient nature to it.
Right.
And the man is the connection to the Twilight Zone thing. Because like wherever you go, the hitchhiker guy is there or whatever.
Yeah,
The hitchhiker and the man are the sort of like,
Yeah,
The sort
he's,
of
like, coaxing
herald,
her.
the herald of death kind of character.
Yes.
Yeah. So, okay. So now we get to her. She's taking a bath. And then we see that, this guy living, sort of across the hallway, this guy, John, at the door, and he's sort of creeping on her. And she he knocks at the door. She puts a towel on. Great little camera trick here where like he opens the door and he's kind of like checking her out. And then of course like the camera like tilts on the tripod to like check her out, and then, he
Another gross peeping Tom.
Totally. Yeah.
Character.
He kind of she sends him off, and then she steps out of her room, looks down the stairs. And again, another amazing jump scare. Remy, you actually screamed as we were watching this,
I
like
screamed.
full on screen.
Yeah, like shrieked.
Of this great zoom shot right into him, the man standing at the bottom of the stairs. And then she chases, she goes back into her room, shuts the door, and you hear the footsteps coming up the door.
Yeah.
Super great tension, suspense, totally holds up. Super creepy. And then of course it's the rooming house lady is there, and and she's like, there's nobody else in the house, of course, and stuff like that. And then
it makes you feel like that feeling, at least for me, of like being alone, the fear of being alone. And that's something also that she brings up a lot. Like she has this sense of inherent like loneliness about her. And she says she doesn't really want the company of others. And she feels alienated from others, but at the same time, she's terrified of being alone. And it's like when the man appears, it's so simple, but it's that fear of like, no one's here to protect me. I feel like as the audience, you feel that.
Sure.
Especially as her being a woman as well.
it's like, oh God, here's another person that's like after her. Yeah. Too.
Right,
It's like Jesus.
one of the great observations is like, she was like she was a real ass actress, right?
Yeah,
like
she was.
studied
Actor
under Lee
studio.
Strasberg, right?
She's a method actress,
method actress, right?
Yeah.
So like, and one of that, a big part of the method is like reacting to your to the other people, and like, so I guess she would keep asking like, what's my motivation for this scene, and Heck would be like, no method. You're just walking from here to there across the street. You're just trying to cross the road because he wanted her to be completely isolated from the world and dissociated.
Yeah.
But she like wants to have connect as a person, as an actor, she wanted to have connection with that world. So there was always this tension between her wanting to bring in the method of like knowing what her motivations was and trying to connect with the world, and Heck saying like, no, you're not going to, you're just going to be isolated. Or so one of the observations is that tension is like what helped sell the character, someone that wants to be that wants to be part of the world, but is also completely isolated and disconnected from
well,
it
there's
at
a good
the same time.
stylistic, there's some good stylistic, tool for that, which we'll get to shortly here in a second. But just real quick, I'm going to pick up the pace a little bit, getting a little nervous. There's a shot of her, then we see her sleeping and the rain out the window. It's beautiful. She looks out the window. There's a series of amazing zoom shots that we're seeing that are very stylistically sophisticated, of like looking out the window and then seeing Saltaire and then cutting back to her. So incredible. The next day, John the creep brings her coffee. We sort of talked about that already, so I'm going to continue on. But now she needs to go dress shopping. Okay. And this is amazing.
So good.
Of course, great, just sort of indie filmmaking. Like we're just showing up at a store and we're just going to fucking shoot here, and they do it. And it's amazing. She goes into the dressing room, of course, but now She goes in to try something on, but something has changed in the changing room because when she comes out of the changing room, people stop noticing her. And this is kind of what you were alluding to, Marcus. It's like this idea of like, you know, she's in this weird sort of, she's a ghost. She why don't they answer me? Why don't they see me? You know, and this idea, now she's invisible to everybody.
And this is the dissociated state too, we're talking about, like with the trauma response as well. So it's like she is in this state of complete disconnection where the world is suddenly unreachable to her. And she's a woman who's like, can't be heard, can't be seen. And she's almost like, one of the reviews said like, it's like as if her existence itself is flickering in and out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Right. I think what they said maybe was the intention was that she was going in and out of phase with the world. You know?
Right.
And one of the great details is they said like this middle stretch just came from the idea that, these ideas to have her like slip in and out came from the idea that this middle section of the film didn't have much going on. So they wanted to fill it with something.
Yeah.
Love it.
So
and this is
that
the
it comes from
best.
Roy.
Love it.
It's amazing.
They nailed
The
it.
dressing room thing is so cool. And that visual effect. It looks like
I know.
there's like
The
water
glass, like
or
wavy
something.
glass
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
Right. So
which
that's
is
what's so
Mulholland
interesting.
Drive, you know, like when they're messing with the lens and stuff.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, because it's all of a sudden it's like that, like the parallel dimension thing, like the water is coming back.
Yeah.
Right. Or when they go into the box in Mulholland Drive, you know, like there's like a switcheroo there.
All right.
Yeah.
Two coins for that one.
I mean, also Twin Peaks: The Return.
Oh.
You know, everyone is stuck in these liminal spaces, flickering in and out of
I know.
existence. So you know,
It's crazy.
there we go. But,
Department store. Yeah. That's liminal. Yeah.
and her running in the department store and trying to reach out to people, but just the feeling also of like we're talking about the movie on multiple layers. If we're also talking about a woman who's just extremely lonely and disconnected, and that kind of desperation to reach out, but she can't.
And somebody said like, in one of the essays I read, like, you know, she flickers back in when she touches this magical tree. And you know, here's, you know, it's magic bird, you know, that's there.
Yes.
It's like nature. She's like tapping back into nature.
Yeah, and
So
she
cool,
comes back, and of course there's, you know, where she goes over to the drinking fountain, and then she gets startled because there's a guy there, very strange man, who's like, I didn't mean anything, but I just wanted a drink, and almost looks directly at the camera.
Yes.
I didn't mean any harm. I just stopped to get a drink.
Yes.
She's like, there's something to live for. Jesus told me so.
Oh, he's totally.
It's very Coven at that moment. It's Coven moment.
That'd
Love
be
it.
Tom's favorite guy.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, definitely.
Totally.
Very tough.
Coven moment. And it's so then, and then we see, of course, here's a random psychologist of some kind. And then she explains to him, I think she says, it was though for a time I didn't exist, is what she says. And then we see, of course, now she's in the doctor's office. It's shot of the, great little like low budget moment here when you need to do a pickup line and you don't have the actor to do it. It's just a shot of the back of his chair with clearly nobody in it and an ADR line. So this is when you saw this man, you say, whatever. It's amazing.
But then it's cool that he's then the character of like this sort of psychologist, psychiatrist who's like, you know, does this man represent your father? Is it a past sexual trauma? And he's not using the word trauma because at that point they weren't using that word.
No.
But they were saying it's a shock. You're in shock.
You're in shock.
And so I think there also can be a subtext of like this woman did maybe go through some strange sexual trauma with a male figure, every male figure sort of after her and haunting her. So I feel like there's, you know, that's another level.
Yeah, of course. These are the male characters she's meeting along the way that are sort of pulling her in one different type of direction, you know, whether it's kind of like figuring out like about her, or if it's like, you know, pulling her into literally her death, or, you know.
And then the way the men are like scrutinizing her and watching her all the time, like she's always being surveilled and watched and
judged.
Like the idea of this creepy, lecherous guy saying like, kind of criticizing her and like, oh, you're so cold one minute and you're like this.
Yeah.
It's like the pressure of like being a woman and having to like perform these identities for men to be like sort of likable or attractive.
Yeah.
And so she's constantly having to like kind of code switch and stuff to like, please these men.
Right.
And we were talking about the entity too, like Marcus earlier, how like with that weird experimental film, that was made that's like the crazy psyche kind of being fucked up is like the movie that the other experimental film.
Right. You're saying that there's like a film that was made using lost Carnival of Souls footage.
Yeah.
Called like Candace Hilligoss's Flickering Soul, right? And it's like
yeah. Yep.
It's cool.
But it's almost exactly like that Outer Space film, which is like
which uses
flickering
using footage from
flickering
the
Halo.
entity.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay,
Halo, 10 minutes, guys.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay. So
sorry.
Shout out. Okay. She heads to the pavilion. There's all these great shots of her walking alone in the pavilion. And we sort of see this sort of abandoned fun house, that sort of rotating cylinder that she walks through. You know, she throws a coin in the water.
That's very Blood of the Poet Cocteau.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
There's like a lot of those weird. And also the ghoul makeup is very like
it is.
Lee Miller, who plays the statue in Blood of the Poet.
It's true.
That was like one of his big like...
Yeah, so cool. Yeah. So then we see her throwing a coin in the water, of course, and the man is underneath the water. And so it's a great, just little interstitial moment there that just very atmospheric, super cool.
It's very Lord of the Rings, by the way, the guy under the water. I don't know if you're anyway, whatever.
It's been a while. Okay. And then here comes the creepy guy again, creeping on her, wants to take her out for dinner. And now she's kind of like too afraid to be alone and sort of decides to entertain this guy, to go out with him, just to not be alone because she's afraid of the man coming to get her. And then it cuts to her back in the church and she's playing the organ. Totally like, you know, the blind woman from the beyond or something. Like she's completely in this trance.
And the discordant music is sort of conjuring the death.
You see her barefoot.
Yes.
Yeah, that's really
weird,
crazy.
like pedal work.
Yeah,
there.
that's like almost like pagan folk witchy. Barefoot.
Sexuality enters into it briefly.
That's true. Yeah.
Yep. And then this is where we see the shots of the people dancing in the pavilion to her organ and in fast motion. Very great touch. Oh,
that's really cool. Yeah.
Super cool. And then the man walks towards the camera and it's like this just amazing little interstitial musical sort of amazing little segment there.
Yeah. This is like the dance of death. This is like the dance
this is it. This is what they wanted from the beginning. So now they're at the date night. Obviously the dude is drunk and she says like, you don't like dancing or holding a man, having a man hold you close or any of that stuff. And then she says, I don't want to be alone tonight. I want to be with you. And he gets very pushy with her. And so then they leave. They go back to her room and he's like necking with her. But of course, it's the man that's necking with her.
Oh, that's so scary.
And then of course, it's like a big jump scare. And she's like, I don't want to get mixed up with a broad who's off her rocker, and of course, she cries into the camera. She then leaves the rooming house, and this is one of the this is maybe one of the weirder. Okay, we have access to this location, so let's work it into the script. Is she pulls into this repair shop, and she goes into the repair shop because there's an issue with her transmission, and she pulls up, onto the lift, like I guess the car lift, and it raises her in it, and it's just a weird circumstance to be trapped in the car, which of course. Obviously, that is kind of nightmare logic. She dies in this car, perhaps, question mark.
And trapped in the car.
And now she's trapped in the car in a different circumstance, and it sort of, raises her up. Of course, the man, you see his shadow coming into the garage, the footsteps, the car lowers. And then there's one of the weirdest things in this movie. She screams and I guess falls backward out of the window. It makes zero sense. How she leaves from the inside of the car to the outside of the car. Right. It's like physically impossible, but it's so crazy and weird that they included that. Then she runs down the street. She's running to the bus depot. Again, we see that wave effect again, comes on. She's now phasing out again and people don't notice her. She's invisible and she can't get a ticket to get on the bus and she wants to get away from here. She, of course, walks onto the bus. There's all the creepies in the bus. And that's very Lisa and the Devil, if anyone out there has ever even seen that movie. They basically ripped that off completely wholesale from this moment. But it's amazing. And no one can
It's just a terrifying feeling that no one can hear you, no one can see you.
I know.
Like, just that feeling of isolation of like you cannot reach out for help. It's impossible.
I know.
It's so scary.
Right.
I know. And one of my favorite little accent marks in this film is when during this part when she's running down, I think like a little alleyway. And it's a top-down shot from the roof of this building, looking down at her, and she's screaming, "Why can't anyone hear me?" And it's like reverb. It's "Why can't anyone hear me?"
Yeah.
You know, and it's
you
amazing.
know, and it's just like if we're looking at it too from like the mental unraveling lens as well. Like this is the moment of pure like psychosis, pure dissociation.
Totally. Totally.
Yeah.
There's another moment where she touches the tree and here's the bird again. You know,
Yeah.
Yes.
multiple times.
Right.
Yeah.
So weird. And then like guys from fucking Kansas are coming up with this shit. I love it.
So cool. I love it.
We see, of course, the man sitting in the doctor's chair. You know, and then of course she falls asleep in the car, wakes up, drives off, and she drives to the pavilion again. And here we go. Here's kind of the final, you know, sort of crescendo of this film. We see the sort of creepies, you know, coming out of the lake water. She watches them dance, and then of course there's that great sequence where she's kind of dancing with the man.
Yeah.
And she's got the makeup on. She's got the ghoul makeup on in the eyes. The camera's spinning to the organ music and the dancing. You know, she screams and runs, and then they come at her fast. That's also really cool too.
Really scary.
They come at her like sped up in a really crazy fast way. That's really truly
zombies.
Fast
Fast zombies. Yeah. Ahead of its time.
Totally. Very cool. Now we're under the boardwalk and we're under these pylons, and like we're chasing her out into the beach. And then of course they just basically consume her, and they come down on top of her, and it's like a POV shot from her POV, and they just cover the camera.
Yeah.
And then amazing. This is very David Lynch. Sorry. Where the people, you know, it cuts to black, and then you have the people investigating, I guess, whatever, her disappearance. And they're like, look, her footprints end here, and then there's just a handprint
Oh yeah.
in the beach.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Wow. And nothing else there. So cool. So she basically dematerializes completely. Amazing. And then the priest and the doctor, they sort of look at each other at that moment. And this is, of course, when we get the big reveal, Ski, which is that they find the car, that they pull the car out of the lake. Big reveal. She's sitting in the front seat, and she died in the car crash.
Yeah.
She's been dead the whole time. You know, is that sort of the idea?
Right.
And I don't know, super fucking effective.
Genuinely scary.
Genuinely scary. You know, one of the things that's interesting to say about this film too, just while we have a few minutes here, is I guess, you know, the distribution life of this movie is they sold it to some sort of hack company that just decided to dump it into these drive-ins. They failed to put a copyright notice on the film's prints, so this movie was automatically, I think, like Night of the Living Dead, was placed into the public domain in the US. So I don't know if these guys ever saw a fucking dime based on this movie at all.
Right. They cut out like 10 minutes of it, you know, which is a lot of the end part.
Right.
So what a lot of people saw on TV was missing that part. And then, I guess they didn't, the company folded, the owners escaped overseas. They had like 73 prints they sold off to TV. Yeah. Like illegally, you know, gave to some guys off to TV. And no one ever got paid. The investors never got paid back. The deferred payments never got paid.
Yeah. So it's a cruel story, because I think a lot of people were sort of wondering why this guy didn't. This is one of the best one and dones of all time.
Yeah.
And why didn't this guy go and make more feature films? And I think, well, this experience of, you know, making this like DIY film, you know, and then having it just being completely stolen and taken from you and butchered, and then not to have it anywhere find the audience they were intending for it.
They were skilled filmmakers, but they had no experience in like the Hollywood distribution system, and that's what screwed them.
Yes, exactly. So, but it is amazing that, you know, they did envision this film to be playing art houses. That's where they were. That's what they had in mind.
It seemed
And
like
it eventually did.
Yeah,
it just played on TV for a while, and then like Cinefantastique did like an article on
That's
it,
right.
like 83 or something, which kind of paved the way to people noticing it again.
Yep.
And then
it
Siskel
actually got a
Ebert.
re-release in like
89.
89. Yeah.
They had a big like homecoming Coven style screening in Kansas, where everyone showed up. Of course, Herc Harvey is in full ghoul
makeup.
regalia for that.
It's incredible.
Which is such a great move that he showed up dressed up as the man to his own big time screening.
It's just I love that it's a Kansas film. Like
I know.
It's so unique in that way.
So cool.
You know, like, and it kind of reminds me too of like Toby Hooper and his crew during Texas Chainsaw. Like it was so authentic and so of just their artistry in that little crew.
They were so inspired. They were all like high on this certain supply, you know, and
it couldn't have been in LA. It couldn't have been in New York or anywhere. It had to be in its own
they
little
were locked in
American space somewhere.
Yeah, they were locked in. They took a few weeks to do this movie and they just banged it out, and they managed to put something together that just really still holds up. And fuck, they wanted art houses. Well, they got the fucking Criterion collection.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, it's pretty fucking
and
amazing.
the New Yorker reviewing it, and
Unbelievable.
You know.
And again, I just go back to say it's amazing the line you can draw from this film to inspiring so many other things that we love.
Right.
And you may, if you haven't seen this movie in a while, or at all, check it out. It's not what you think. This movie is an art film in every sense of the word, in my opinion.
The
really
new scan
is.
looks so much better than watching it on VHS.
Yes,
back in the day,
100%. Yeah.
All right. There we go. All right.
Beautiful.
That was 1 fucking hour on Carnival of Souls. We hit it all there, I think. Great flick. Thanks, guys, for voting and picking that movie. I think that was a great choice.
That was really good.
You guys have great taste. Great taste. Great taste. All right. So that was that. Now, I guess that's 1962, everybody. So we are moving along here. Next week, we're going to get into 1963. And of course, we're going to do another poll.
I love.
Okay.
Carnival of Poles.
Carnival of Poles. Yeah, that deserves that. Okay. Carnival of Poles. Okay, let's take a look at what your options are. Now, just a little, I guess, recap on how this all works. If you haven't voted in before, here's how it works. If you were watching this, podcast episode within the 24 hours of it going live for the public, not of course if you're a Momen, you get to watch that a few days early, but within the first 24 hours of going, let me try that again. Within the first 24 hours of this episode going public, head on over to the YouTube link in the description of this video or in the description of the podcast app you're listening to this on. There's a link to YouTube where you will see a poll for your 4 options from 1963 that y'all get to vote on and should be live there. So go race over there and you'll see them. Here are your 4 options for 1963. I think, guys, this is one of my favorite 4 lineups here that we've had. I'm very excited about this 4. So, we talked about Bergman tonight, so let's hit it with a Bergman. We could go right into Bergman if y'all want, right after this. So option number 1, Jesus Christ, one of the bleakest films I've ever seen, but it's a beautiful film, and I love it. We're talking 1963's Winter Light would be option number 1. That's part of course, the Silence trilogy that Bergman did. We haven't done it. We've done one Bergman before. We did Virgin Spring, so this would be a shot.
We forgot to mention The Seventh Seal tonight, but that's okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about it next week if you pick Winter Light. Okay, so that's option number 1. Option number 2, again, this is kind of, I guess, keeping things a little consistent in terms of similar feels from Carnival of Souls. Rami, tell us what 1 fucking hour on The Haunting would be like for option number 2.
What would it be like? It's one of the most incredible movies. My top 10 ultimate, one of my favorites. That's my pick. The Haunting would be my pick. I vote for The Haunting.
No thumbs on the scale. All right, so if you want to make Rami happy, pick option.
I wasn't prepared for that question, but yeah.
Okay, number 2 is The Haunting. Option number 3, though, you also might like, and this is a very, I don't know if it's exactly underrated, but it's a fucking gem. And this would be, we'd be going over to the UK for this one. For 1963, The Servant. Joseph Losey's The Servant.
This is a cool one.
Dirk Bogarde, is that his name?
Yeah, Dirk Bogarde.
This is an amazing film, right? I mean, anything to say on that? Like weird power dynamics.
Fucking weird. Yeah. Subversive British.
Very subversive.
Class study about subverting class expectations.
Yeah.
Very British in that way.
Yes, amazing film. So that's option number 3. Option number 4 is a French film. We're trying to get this. We're trying to get them in the polls here, Marcus.
I know.
But this would be so far, I think, the first Jean-Luc Godard that we've offered.
Right.
First offering,
but
we
could really use one. I think.
I think we're going to force one soon. I have a feeling we're going to.
Oh yeah.
Within the next 10 years, there's going to be a Godard.
No, I think in this decade we're going to force one. I have a feeling.
It's going to happen.
I have a feeling. Just knowing us, we're going to force one. But if not, they could, the people can force it here if they like. Option number 4, Jean-Luc Godard's Contempt would be, which I think would be fantastic.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Le Mépris would be, of course,
Le Mépris. And she just died.
I know. That's right. That'd be another reason to do that. Score is fantastic and be incredible. So we got to get our French New Wave hit in one way or the other.
This is a good lineup.
This is a great lineup.
Yeah, it's very like subversive.
It's also very like cinephile, oriented, and it's amazing. Right. If you've not seen any of these films or you've not seen one of them, watch them all.
Check them all out.
Check them all out. This is a great block of films. To recap, option number 1, Ingmar Bergman's Winter Light. Option number 2, The Haunting. Option number 3, The Servant. And 4, Contempt. So it's in your hands if you're listening to this within the first 24 hours of it going live. Click the YouTube link in the description. It'll bring you over to the poll. And you vote away, my friends. Vote away. Okay. So, okay. All right. So that's it for everybody. Again, quick shout out to the One Fucking Hour Patreon, patreon.com/onefuckinghour. Sign up there to get instant access to our new bonus episode, which is live right now. We're sort of giving you guys the one and done. If you want the One Fucking Hour origin story, who the fuck are we? Where did we come from? How do we know each other? That's the way to get all that info. It's up now on the Patreon. So sign up there to watch it or click the join button below and become a Momen of the YouTube channel. Same price, same perks, helps Tom, and you get the same benefits. All right, everybody. Well, speaking of that M word, we can't leave you without your Moment of Zen. All right, everybody. Take care. We'll see you next week. So long.
Earlier in the day, a press conference was held at the Eldridge Hotel, and Herc Harvey appeared in his famous ghoul costume and makeup.
Actually, it is amazing that there has been a revival of Carnival of Souls. It was made in 1961, released in 1962, and the very fact that we're here today, 27 years later, doing all this Mickey Mouse and so forth, saying that we're enjoying the revival of Carnival of Souls is fun. It's fun, I think, for all of us that were in it, because we thought that about 25 years ago it had died a natural death.
Motherfucking goddamn orange peel beef.
That was wicked, man.